and welcome to video 2 in the Lidar series. In this video, we are going to be looking at transforming this raster that we generated at the end of video 1. That's going to allow us to see different aspects of the point cloud. So just a refresher, this is what you get from the loss file. It is a series of millions and millions and millions of points, each one taken from an aerial flyover and some sensors. And not only do these points give us elevation in our digital elevation model, they also give us some other aspects of the terrain. So the processing we're going to do is called raster functions. And as the name implies, they must be done on a raster, not a point cloud. So that's why we made the digital elevation model at the end of video 1. So to access these, make sure you are on your raster layer. You're going to go to imagery and then just click raster functions, and it will pull up a menu over here. These are very, very similar to geoprocesses, except that they are temporary. And you can see the results of that over here in the table of contents. That exclamation point means it cannot find the data layer, and it cannot find the data layer because it doesn't exist. So if you close and open your frame session, you will have to run your raster functions again, but as you're about to see, they are incredibly fast. So the first one we're going to do is called hill shade, and you're just going to type in hill. It'll find you hill shade. And this is what a typical raster function looks like. This actually has a few more parameters than most of them, but they always start with what raster do you want to use, and we're going to use our DEM. We're going to leave all of this the same, and then all we're going to do is press this create new layer. Notice how we didn't save it at any point in there. That's why this is a temporary file. So that's the one I ran last time, and then this is the one I ran today. And basically what it is it's a 3D relief of the area. It does have some cool effects with buildings and trees and things like that. Oh, and you can see just little bits here of the baseball fields in this particular area. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off just to see. I'll put an imagery based map behind this. Yeah, so you can see those baseball fields, which is pretty cool from the hillshade. So you will either be using this version in your final layout, or I will show you another 3D version you can do later on that doesn't involve a raster function, but this is a potential map for your final layout. Another raster function we're going to run is called slope, and I'm just going to reset to my bookmark before we do that. And raster functions is already open. I'm just going to delete hill and type in slope. We're going to do slope and aspect separate. There is one called aspect slope, but it is a bit much, so we're just going to keep them separate. So we're going to do slope. And again, we're going to indicate the DEM for our slope, leave all of this the same, and then just click create new layer. Now, the slope is not in a way we recognize. We're used to seeing a particular red-green color scheme for slope, so we're going to apply that to our image. So we're going to go to raster layer, making sure that slope is the one that's active. We're going to go to symbology, and then we're going to keep a stretch for our symbolization, and then we're just going to change this color scheme. So what's nice about this is you can show names, and then it does put them in alphabetical order, and we're just going to scroll down till we get to slope. Now, if you scroll too far, you're going to actually get to just these color combinations, but right above that is slope. So go ahead and click slope. And this is what we're used to. We're going to make one other minor change. Slope is technically 0 to 90. This is indicating that we didn't quite get a 90-degree angle on any of these buildings, which is pretty understandable. But the labels are messy, so I want to clean them up. So I'm going to go over into symbology where it says label, and I'm just going to change this 0 point stuff to 0 and this 87 to 90. It just cleans it up. And you are going to need this legend, or yeah, this legend in your layout. So you want a nice clean legend. So the other one is aspect, and we're going to go right back to raster functions. So we're going to be on the DEM, go to imagery, raster functions, and this time we're going to run aspect. And what aspect is, it is the direction of the sun. So we're going to go ahead and run that on the raster DEM. Again, this one has one parameter. What raster are you running? Nothing else matters. And this is a bit confusing to begin with, but it is 0 to 360 degrees, so a full rotation. We're going to set the symbology similarly for this one, so make sure aspect is active, go to raster layer, go to symbology, and we're going to do this in a different order. We don't want to stretch this one. We actually want to do, we want to classify it. So we're going to classify for our primary symbology. And then we want to change our classes from 5 to 8. And I'm just going to pull in a different aspect layer to show you how we're going to style this. Oh, my aspect's already angry. We'll come back to that. There it is. Okay, so this is what an aspect layer is supposed to look like. It has codes. Different colors indicate different directions of the sun. And this is not what it looks like when you do a raster function. This was running a full geo process, but the reason we're not having you do that is it takes a very, very long time to run. So we're just going to use the simpler version of it, and I'm going to have you copy these codes in to match. So I'm not going to turn this on again because it will take forever and a day to load, but this is what our aspect will look like once it is done. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. For whatever reason, our aspect is already unhappy. So let me go ahead and run that again. Like I said, raster functions are temporary, but they are quick. So aspect, DEM, create new layer. And again, this is what it looks like when it first starts. To edit this one, we're going to do a few things. So this one's going to take the longest of our processing. We're going to go to raster layer. We're going to go to symbology. And we're going to change the primary symbology from stretch to classify. Then, before we bother changing the color scheme, this is only 5 categories. We want 8 because that's what the natural aspect is. So we're going to change our classes from 5 to 8. And then we're going to change our color scheme so we can choose aspect. And now you'll notice that the colors match my aspect example, but the numbers do not. So I'm going to have to do some editing in my labels. So I'm just going to expand this out a little bit. And I need to set the upper values and the labels. So this is in your document so that you can copy and paste it, because this part is not necessarily fun. Then for north, we need to go to 22.5. So we're going to type in 22.5. And then we're going to copy this. Yes, I know this part is a bit back and forth, but eventually it will all match. And at that point, you will have your aspect image. Okay. So then the last thing we are going to do is run contours. Now, when you do contours, which is the elevation of the land in ellipsoids, you can do the original elevation. So if I just change this to be a bit more representative. Oh, wrong one. I want this one. There we go. Let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so our original elevation here has these trees and these buildings in it, and that's not the ground. I really just want to represent ground elevation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter this, filter the points. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my lost data set. I'm going to go to lost points, and then I'm going to change it from all points to just ground. Now, with the ground, it's very flat in this area, so there is not a lot of change in elevation. But I need to have just the ground points so that I can make one other raster. So I've been working with the digital elevation model this whole time. I'm going to create what's called a digital surface model, which is just the ground points. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my point cloud. I'm going to go to data again, export again, export raster. And then this time my output is going to be called DSM for digital surface model. And the only thing I change again is the sampling value from 10 to 0.5. We're going to sample at 0.5 meter resolution. And then what the digital surface model looks like is like this. So it is very flat. But then it will allow us to run one last raster function called contours, or sorry, one last process called contours. Now, this one we actually don't want to be a raster function. This one is going to be a full geoprocess. So it's going to be analysis, tools, geoprocessing, and it's called contour with barriers. Now, there is a raster function for contours, but the styling is not what we want for our layouts. So we're going to run this one. For contour with barriers, your input raster, again, is going to be that surface model, not the elevation model. Leave all of this the same. Our base contour will start at 0, and we want an interval of every 2 feet with an index of every 10. And then all we do is run this. When it is finished, it doesn't quite look like this. It actually is going to look like, instead of unique values, it's going to have a single symbol. So it's going to look like that. And you're going to go into your symbology. You're going to change single symbol to unique values. And then the field is going to be the type. So for the type 1 is the 2-foot interval, and type 2 is the 10-foot interval. So we would want to change that in the labels. We would want one to be 2 feet, and we would want 2 to be 10 feet. There we go. In terms of colors, it's up to you. You probably want a topographic base map. That's what I have on right now. And then you can change your color scheme. So whatever you think looks good on your base map. It is only changing one at a time. So I think I have to select both of them. Okay, just select both of them and then change the color. Okay, so that's oranges. Yeah, brown's not bad. So pick a color scheme that works for you. The last thing you need to do is turn on the labels. So mine are currently turned on, but I'll show you how to do that. You're going to go to labeling for this layer. And then this is what it's like when the labels are turned off. You're going to turn them on. And then you're just going to do the contour field for your labels. And you can change the placement if you would like. You can change how often they show up. Lots of different changes you can do. And I believe there are examples of this in the tutorial for layout. Okay. So at this point, we have all of the maps you need. There is one variation I'm going to show you by putting the maps in 3D if you want that for your project. But just to go through them one last time, we have just the world imagery. So you probably want to add world imagery as opposed to just using it as a base map. It kind of gets stuck when it's just a base map. So you're going to just go to catalog, portal, ArcGIS Online, and then imagery. And then just add world imagery. Either of these are good. And that will be your first map. Also make sure you add it bookmark to whatever extent you want so that all of your maps will be in the same location. So world imagery is the first one. The second one is the point cloud either in 2D or 3D. Now notice here that I'm still in my filtered point cloud. So I'm going to go back to lost data set layer, back to points, and change back to all points. I can either style it this way, or if I want it to just be pure. So this is elevation using a surface. If I want it to just be pure elevation with the points, I can do that. It's really up to you. Your third option is if you want it in 3D. So if you want to make your maps in 3D, you do have that option. So right now we're looking at the point cloud in 2 dimensions. In order to have a 3D map, we're not going to look at a map, we're going to look at a scene. So you're going to go to Insert, where it says New Map, you're going to do this drop down, and you're going to go to New Local Scene. Now the difference is a global scene is not projected and a local scene is. And since we've worked with projected files this whole time, we want to make sure we're local. So add your local scene. It'll show up here at the top. And then we are going to have to copy and paste. So we want to copy and paste the point cloud. We're going to right click, copy. We're going to go to our scene, and we're going to right click on the word scene, and we're going to paste. And that will put our data in 3D. Now, when it initially shows up, it's not tilted like this. So I'm just going to reset for the most part. A little off north, but close enough. And then this is probably what your menu looks like initially. So you're going to click this full control button, and then you're going to grab this inner circle and tilt. You can tilt as much or as little as you want, but this gives a pretty nice effect of seeing your points in 3D. So if you want to do your second map, your point cloud in 3D, you can use this version. And then if you want to do your third map as intensity, I'll show you what that looks like. So you can either use the hill shade that we generated earlier in this video, or if you want to use intensity, you're going to keep this layer and you're just going to style it by intensity. So over here in symbology, we're going to make sure we're here, symbolize your layer using points, use draw using, we don't want elevation, we want intensity. And what's nice about the intensity map is you can see those baseball fields that are pretty much hidden in any other one of our maps. And why it works for intensity is this is just how much the light's being reflected versus the actual elevation of the point cloud. So you can insert either this map, or we go back to hill shade, it would be this map in 2D, so your choice. So that is maps 3 and 4. Slope is going to be map 5, and so that's going to be this one. Aspect is going to be, or sorry, map 4 is slope. Aspect is map 5, and that is it's just angry. But the aspect that we took the time to fix will be here, and then your contours is your very last one. So you are going to combine all 6 of those maps into a layout. The style is your decision. There is the document in, or there is the tutorial in your documents. Just going to go ahead and open that, pull that over. So this is a series on how to do a layout in Pro. You're going to have 6 maps, not 2, but you're going to follow the same ideas. It's going to give you tips on how to arrange it and then how to finish and export. And our layout is going to be 22 by 34 inches. So when you insert a layout, so new layout, you're going to do the 22 by 34. You're going to do this ANSID, and that will be your layout. You could also do the landscape version if you would like. All right, so that is all I have for you in terms of technical manipulations of our Lidar. I hope you have fun with this, and let us know if you have any questions.